at the Mercedes-Benz plant in Chakan, and it is a very special occasion because for the first time ever, there is an EV rolling off the line. Mercedes are now making the EQS 580 here. Local production and GST benefits have allowed them to offer the EQS at 1.55 crore. While that's still a hefty price tag, to put it into perspective, that's lower than an S-Class. And with the taxation benefits offered to EV, that advantage will only be stretched out on the road. Talking of out on the road, it's time to kick off the drive. So normally you can come in and you have to adjust your seat position, or some cars have memory, which this does have. But here all I have to do is set it up for my height, start positioning, and everything from the steering to the seat gets adjusted to the perfect driving position for me. And when you first get into the EQS, it gives you the options of setting up your profile in multiple ways. And that means once done, every time you get in, you just need to ask. Load my personal profile. And everything from the seat position to the temperature, music and route choices will be customized to your preferences. Now normally I'd be taking you on a drive all on my own and telling you all about the car, but this time I have interesting company. I have the editor of our sister mag stuff, Nishant Padhiar, here with me, because while I drive this and tell you all about how it goes over speed breakers, what the ride quality is like, how does it perform on our Indian roads, Nishant is going to give you a deep dive into the tech in this car, and there's just so much of it.
Thank you for having me on the show, and it feels like I'm entering a giant phone because even from the swipe to unlock, when I get in, all I see is screens, so I'm right at home.
Absolutely, this is your arena, which is why I have you on this drive. Range is always on the top of one's mind when starting a trip in an EV. And while the EQS 580 with a claimed range of 857 kilometers according to ARAI should banish any kind of anxiety, I still had to have a peek, and for our drive we started with 90% charge and 640 kilometers showing as range. And I'm getting to try out everything. This rear axle steering really makes U-turns in this big car very, very easy. It gets rear axle steering, which will only come as standard to the first 500 customers. But the 10 degrees of turn on the rear wheels makes a big difference, and it's an option worth considering. It gives the 5.2 meter long EQS 580 a turning circle of just 10.9 meters. Now, another great feature for our Indian conditions is the ride height adjust, available with the air suspension, which you can raise by 15 millimeters. Should we raise the car? For the speed breaker, I think we need to raise it.
Raise vehicle level.
Yep. Vehicle level is raised, and interestingly, it has raise here in future based on a GPS position. I'm going to just say yes.
So you can geotag this, and the next time you encounter the exact same speed breaker, the car will automatically raise itself by 15 mm. That's really intuitive technology.
It is.
And do we hear a scrape? Do we hear a scrape? Do we hear a scrape?
No, we don't. But you do have to treat speed breakers with respect.
The first thing that really takes my breath away, and probably my retinas also, is just the amount of screen here. It's a 56-inch hyperscreen, goes from A pillar to A pillar, edge to edge, and it comprises of 3 individual screens, but the effect it has, the visual impact, is like nothing I've seen before. What do you think?
It is, because it does have a lot of wow factor.
It does. So you get 2 12.3-inch screens, one for the instrument cluster, one for the passenger, which is again very, very unique, and the giant 17.7-inch central infotainment screen. That is, I think, pretty interesting because, of course, it uses MBUX. In terms of specs, it's actually hardcore. It's better than most desktop PCs that we use. So it has an 8-core CPU, 24 gigs of RAM,
It's flying over my head. Translate that into layperson's language for me. What does that mean?
Basically, there is no lag, and I've been using it for a while now, since we've been in the plant for a while, and now that we're driving, it's just so smooth. You know, you can just pinch to zoom, you can go through different layers, you can drill down deep into the menu system. There is zero lag, and it actually uses something called zero layer design, which means that it's contextual. Anything which you do and interact with the car very often, those features always remain on top. While the EQS cabin is largely controlled by on-screen gestures, thankfully there are a few capacitive buttons meant to be shortcuts. You can access drive modes, battery and charge status, the 360-degree surround cameras and certain ADAS features directly from the center console or steering wheel. Everything is literally at your fingertips. And even the design of the dash itself, I mean, of course, the hyper screen dominates your view, but even the smaller details that you see, I like the little rose gold accents they have going throughout, the active ambient lighting, which is again, I think, a new innovation, because they are just not ambient lights in a gazillion colors, but they actually respond to certain features and safety features of the car. For example, if you're opening the door and if the blind spot monitoring assist system detects a pedestrian or a cyclist coming from the back, the ambient light actually glows red to warn you to not open the door. We have to take a moment to talk about where we are driving in Renuka. We are driving in the middle of industrial town Chakan, and we have factories all around us, as probably viewers can see. And I'm pretty sure the air quality outside is very poor.
You can check that on your screen right now.
Yeah, so let's check it. The ambient air quality was showing a PM 2.5 value of a toxic 31, but the HEPA filter in the EQS, which claims to purify the in-cabin air quality by a massive 99.65%, was definitely working, as the in-cabin air quality was showing as a pristine 1. So that's practically as good as a village in Germany somewhere.
And you know, this rear axle steering, while it makes the U-turns very easy, it makes this car so maneuverable. It's all this truck traffic that I'm having to nip in, out, overtake. It's just so easy. It doesn't feel so big. The only thing that I find, especially for someone my height, and I've got the seat right up into its highest position, is this binnacle. It is very high, so I'm peering over it. And while the seat positioning feature is good, I soon realized it's not ideal. I did need to raise the seat height and lower the steering to get more comfy.
But the one thing I was really excited about and looking forward to was the passenger side screen, and the more time I spend looking at it, it just seems sort of futile, because there is nothing that you cannot do on the main 17.7-inch screen that you would want to do on your own personal screen. It's only a few inches away from each other.
But let me tell you this, as the driver of the car, that screen I can barely see. Little bit of reflection, little bit of, I can see you have the charging, the EQ, you're seeing how much the battery is charged at this point.
So I'm monitoring your driving right now.
It's not really distracting, but if you were to be fiddling around with this screen, it would probably be a little bit more distracting for me, because it's much brighter. I'm noticing a lot more things and may tempt me to take my eyes off the road a little bit more. So probably that does have a purpose.
The passenger's personal screen is a bit of a personal opinion, but it does allow the passenger to connect his or her own device and listen to their own content on a pair of Bluetooth wireless headphones. Of course, the built-in games like Sudoku, Tetris, Pairs and Shuffle Puck are available on both the main and the passenger screens, but activate only when the car is stationary.
The one thing I'm looking forward to is how they've managed to retain that signature Burmester sound quality, because this audio system is a bit pared down compared to the full fat S-Class experience.
So while the S-Class has a mind-numbing 39 speakers, including exciters which are basically butt massagers, the EQS has a more modest setup with 15 speakers and 710 watts of power. But with clever positioning of the tweeters that face the window, the sensation of space, depth and clarity is breathtaking and easily holds its own against the Porsche sibling. As expected, you do get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto.
And while Nishant was geeking out on all the technology, I had finally found myself some open roads. Are you ready for this?
Let me hold on to something.
Yeah, that shove back into your seat is something wonderful, isn't it? I had the joy of driving this car in Germany where, it was completely de-restricted and you could keep your foot planted on that.
But the shove back is actually on multiple levels. I could feel my eyeballs going backwards by a few millimeters. This is... well, they aren't lying about 855 Newton meters of torque, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is just fantastic. I mean, the performance of this car is absolutely grin-inducing, and you can see that while you get excited about tech, this is what gets me going. A silent assassin would be apt to describe the EQS 580. It's so quick and it gets you to triple-digit speeds in total silence. The cabin is calm and serene even at high speeds, and you always feel like you're in the lap of luxury. If calm isn't your scene, there are two options of sounds which come through the Burmester system and produce electronic tones on acceleration or deceleration. And we can hear then the silver waves.
You do get some semblance of an exhaust note, although it's not like an ICE engine exhaust note.
No, it's very electric.
It's very Blade
electronic.
Runner. Yeah, it's very Blade Runner meets Tron.
Over time, one has come to appreciate the silence that EVs are all about, and it's best enjoyed that way. The fact on this expressway, it just feels so stable, so planted, triple-digit speeds. This just does it so nonchalantly. You don't feel like you're carrying such high speeds. It makes you feel very, very secure.
And the only sound I'm hearing is of the tires. Just some slight tire noise, but otherwise it's brilliant, this cabin to be in for long distances.
I mean, there's no wind noise that's really coming through. And I think...
it's down to the fact that probably it's the world's most aerodynamic car.
The serenity inside the cabin of the EQS is down to the meticulous sealing of every panel gap and filling of many cavities in the bodywork with acoustic foam. Of course, the drag coefficient of just 0.20 also allows it to cut through the wind with the least amount of resistance or noise.
It's time to get it into sport mode. Sport mode heightens all responses and makes the EQS feel even sharper. The steering increases in weight and feedback as you pick up speed, and this inspires a great amount of confidence. Holding long corners are a breeze, and you can carry good speeds with ease. Okay, glasses up. This time for the wow factor. Can you see that?
Honestly, there are more shades of ambient lighting on offer here than your many moods. The EQS also elevates the phenomenal after-dark cabin experience with energizing comfort programs that just seem to know which color goes with what temperature and what music. It's almost like being inside Battlestar Galactica.
And for more wow factor, we decided to check how the ADAS system worked in our conditions. I set it into cruise control, which also activates the steering assist, and it kept distance with the car in front of me, stopping and starting with it. It also gave me blind spot warnings and even did some light steering work. In fact, it all worked to perfection. Now, while we are on features, let's take a look at what else you get.
Sci-fi inside and out, the EQS 580 is packed to the rafters with tech. The list of goodies is on the screen right now, but the highlights include detailed head-up display, an acoustic vehicle alert system for pedestrians to know that you're arriving, 8 USB-C ports all around the cabin and wireless charging front and back, and the latest MBUX system that also supports Car2X technology, which is basically a way to send and receive signals along your route on traffic and accident situations.
What do I have to do to drive the car, Renuka?
Soon. This empty, open stretch of road beckons.
I've set up the entertainment system for you. I've played some tunes for you. Let's give you a hot stone massage.
Hot stone in this hot weather? No, Nishant.
I'm only putting the heat.
Please do not heat my seat.
Seat heating to max.
Please do not
it'll be
heat
nice and toasty.
my seat.
It's good for your bones at this age. So a good hot massage.
I'm disowning you with immediate effect.
How are you feeling?
good, but the seat is heating up to epic proportions. And it's not something...
level max. Are we going to swap now? Are we going to swap now?
I think so. I think I'm giving this car to you soon.
All right.
Okay, time to stop and hand the car over to Nishant.
Tech comes to the rescue every time. How's the back seat?
The back seat is pretty comfy. I have ample space here, but I have to say the seat squab is a bit short.
Yeah, even I found that when I was trying out the car earlier.
Taller people are going to find the seat squab a bit on the shorter side. However, there is just loads of leg room over here. Ample and more. It's a very comfy back seat. The rear tablet allows you to access comfort features for seat adjustments and temperature control. The rear seats are ventilated as well. The dual-pane roof, which works off a slider control near the driver, opens up to make the rear feel even more spacious. And while the seats are contoured for two, there is enough legroom for a third passenger.
Thank you, Renuka, for finally letting me get behind the wheel. And this is what you get as payback.
You're really taking revenge on me for not giving you the wheel sooner, but you can really feel that acceleration back here so much more. Oof, that torque is quite insane. The EQS sails over bad roads in a calm, unfettered manner, ferrying its passengers over all the rough stuff in the most luxurious way.
I'm playing between the different recuperation modes, and we have normal, strong, no recuperation, and intelligent recuperation, and all of them feel a bit different, although in a very subtle way. And like Renuka mentioned, it's done very subtly, so you don't actually get your head stuck to the windscreen with the strong deceleration that you feel with many other regen systems. This one is a lot more milder.
If you're driving an EV, range anxiety comes as standard, but not with the EQS 580's massive range. To further ease your nerves, it also comes with predictive route planning that uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to understand your commute and suggest the fastest route with charging stops along the way. It's also intelligent enough to factor in any changes in driving style and traffic situations along your route. The EQS 580 just wants to take away all the guesswork out of EV driving.
Okay, so we've told you a whole deal about this car, how it drives, how it deals with our Indian conditions, and Nishant has given you the complete lowdown on the tech. And if we haven't already exhausted you, there are still some features that I'd like to talk about. I mean, for example, the screen, the rear view camera. Actually, it's not even a rear view camera, it's a 360-degree camera. And I can use my finger to swirl it around and get any perspective of the car around me. So parking, even if you don't use the park assist feature, will be a complete breeze in this. And the graphics of this camera are so sharp and crystal clear, it is quite impressive. Well, finally it's time to come to a stop. Of course, the interiors of this car, I really don't need to talk about how exceptional the quality is. You've already seen me do it in my test drive in Stuttgart. And to know more about the exterior design and interior details, you can watch our video from Stuttgart on the EQS. The link is on your screen right now. But I hope you've got a sense of how this feels out on the Indian roads. Now, at the beginning of this story, we did talk about range and range anxiety, and I am going to tell you about that. Take a look at what it is now. And before I sum it up, we must mention the extra storage space that you get in front of the car under the console, since there's no transmission tunnel. It's a handy space. And then, of course, there is the boot, which is massive. So let's address the main question about EVs, range. What was the real world range that I got today? Well, it dropped about 21% over 142 kilometers. So if I do the maths, this would give me a real world range of about 710 kilometers, and that is staggering by any standard. It makes it quite simply the longest range EV in India. So, long distance travel is anxiety free and it will take you in the calmest and most comfortable manner possible in every which way. Now, with Mercedes assembling this car in India, yes, this is a CKD. Well, they've been able to price it at 1.55 crore. Yeah, I know that's a big number, but when you talk about luxury cars and EVs, it is quite competitive pricing because it will undercut even its S-Class sibling by quite a margin when you consider the on-road price with all the rebates that EVs get. Now, it may not have that seductive styling of the S-Class or some luxurious features that it has or that plush back seat. But this one is spacious by any standard, whether you consider back seat or the boot. It's got a very cushy ride and it stands apart when you consider the wow factor of its interiors and the amount of tech that it comes loaded with. So, luxury car buyers, it's quite simple. If you're thinking of going green, it is the best EV in the country to buy.